Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. So the Christmas season's fast approaching. It's the time of year where I normally take a couple of weeks off, and then get bored after a couple of days and start uploading videos anyway. But if you do have any travel plans over Christmas, I'm more than happy to recommend the sponsor of today's video, Saily. I've talked about Saily before, but for the benefit of anybody who might be new here, Saily, from the creators of NordVPN and NordPass, is an affordable eSIM for international travel. If you've ever arrived at a foreign country at the airport and then had to undergo the trauma of trying to get a local eSIM without one, getting ripped off, or two, having to stand in line for half an hour with a bunch of people who don't speak your language, you'll understand the benefit of sorting out an eSIM that's ready to go the second you arrive. So, by way of illustration to show us just exactly how all this works, let's take a look at a popular Christmas holiday destination here in Europe, the Czech Republic. Pick your destination from one of over 160 different countries in 8 regions. Pick your data plan, with plans starting from as little as $1.99 for 7 days coverage. Download and install the Saily app on your phone. That's it. As soon as you arrive, your local eSIM is up and running and ready to go. And as affordable as $1.99 for 7 days is, you can also get an exclusive 15% discount on all Saily plans by either clicking the link in the video description, scanning the QR code that's appearing on screen right now, or heading over to saily.com/jingles, use code JINGLES at checkout, and get yourself an additional 15% off what is already a pretty impressive deal. So scan that QR code now and get that deal while you can. So, as you can see, this week I've mostly been playing Red Dead Redemption. Yet the original one, not the Red Dead Redemption 2, which I also have on PC, but Rockstar have just released the original Red Dead Redemption, a 14-year-old game, on PC. Would I recommend it? That's a tricky one. It's not as good as Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, that much should go without saying. But you can kind of see, playing the original Red Dead Redemption, the sort of evolution in the game mechanics and the open world and all that sort of stuff between the first game and the second one. The second one is a better game, no question about it. But that doesn't mean the first one's a bad game. Far from it. This is a very, very good game. Even 14 years on, it's an extremely good game. And it doesn't look that bad either. They haven't enhanced it or anything. This isn't a remaster. In fact, just about the only concessions that they've made to modern PC gaming hardware is it's got support for higher resolutions. I'm playing it in 4K. And it comes with DLSS support. But in all other respects, this is the original Red Dead Redemption, released in 2010. It's a 14-year-old game, re-released on PC. And you can see that it's not a modern game. But it does look pretty good. In fact, and I have a hard time bringing myself to say this, but it's true, it doesn't look much worse than Star Wars Outlaws. Now, I don't know if that's a criticism of Star Wars Outlaws or praise for Red Dead Redemption, but at numerous times throughout my Red Dead Redemption playthrough, and I've only got about 6 hours in so far, but I was comparing this to, for example, the planet Tashara in Star Wars Outlaws. This runs smoother. The graphical fidelity isn't that much different. There are no texture issues with Red Dead Redemption. And it's 14 years old, and Star Wars Outlaws came out this year. Would I recommend Star Wars Outlaws? No. I mean, I've enjoyed Star Wars Outlaws. I realise it's not everybody's cup of tea, but my biggest problem with Star Wars Outlaws is there is no way it's worth $70. There is not $70 worth of content in Star Wars Outlaws. If you were thinking of getting it, I recommend you wait for it to go on sale. And given the state of Ubisoft's finances at the moment, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they slashed 25% off the price and put it on sale for Christmas. Of course, even if they did that, drop the price to $50 and put it on sale for Christmas, it would be at the same price point as Red Dead Redemption. And I think you'd still be getting slightly overcharged for Star Wars Outlaws, because there still isn't $50 worth of content in it, and you are absolutely getting $50 worth of content in Red Dead Redemption. This game is chock full of stuff to do. And it's an actual open world game, unlike the promise of an open world game that Star Wars Outlaws is. But at the same time, it's still $50 for a 14-year-old game. Now, you're definitely getting your money's worth for your $50, but it's a 14-year-old game. That's a AA price point. That's the same price as something like Robocop Rogue City. You can see why I'm conflicted about this, because I would love nothing more than to be able to say, absolutely 100% you should go out and get Red Dead Redemption. And at $50, you are getting your money's worth. There is way more than $50 worth of content in this thing. I still can't help but feel that Rockstar are being just a little bit cheeky asking $50 for a 14-year-old game, because, like I said, they haven't enhanced it or anything, it's not remastered. The only concessions to modern gaming hardware are that you can run it in 4K and it supports DLSS. Other than that, it's basically a straight old port of a 14-year-old game, a very, very good 14-year-old game, and they're asking $50 for it. You see my issue here. This isn't even the first time I've played the original Red Dead Redemption. You see, I never had a PlayStation 3. The very first games console I ever bought was a PlayStation 4 Pro, and I bought that in order to be able to play Red Dead Redemption 2 when it came out for Christmas in 2018. Yeah, it's a 6-year-old game at this point. Oh, and Red Dead Redemption 2, still one of the best games ever made. Still looks amazing, even on modern hardware. Absolutely 100% worth whatever price they're charging for it. But back to the original Red Dead Redemption. So, I had the PS4 Pro. I had Red Dead Redemption 2. I was absolutely loving it, and naturally I was curious. What was the first game like? I had actually seen it before. Years earlier, I had a housemate who had a PlayStation 3, and he sat me down and said, check this out, and he was playing this game. And I couldn't believe what I was looking at. This was obviously all the way back in 2010, when this thing first came out. And of course, as a proud card-carrying member of the PC gaming master race, I just couldn't believe that the console peasants could have anything as good as this. I'd sat there for hours watching him play this game. We had nothing like it on PC. I mean, we had some of the early Far Cry games, but they couldn't hold a candle to Red Dead Redemption. We wouldn't even get Assassin's Creed Origins for another 7 years. They had this on PS3 14 years ago. I couldn't believe it. But back in 2018, when I got my PS4 Pro and started playing Red Dead Redemption 2, the sequel to this, I was curious. Could I play this game on the PS4? The short answer is no. It wasn't compatible with the PS4. But you could still play it. You just had to jump through a few hoops. I forget exactly how it was available. It might have been on the PlayStation Now subscription, but there was a playable version of Red Dead Redemption available on the PS4. You just couldn't play it natively on the PS4. What you had to do was stream it from Sony's servers. It was like cloud gaming. And it was playable in that respect. But when I say playable, I mean in the very broadest sense of the word. I mean, it played, but it was so laggy. It was more or less unplayable. So I'd had a taste of this game all the way back in 2018, maybe early 2019. Well, I had my first taste of it all the way back in 2010 when I was watching Ant, my housemate, play this thing. And then I had a go at playing it for myself in 2018, maybe early 2019, over the PlayStation Network, but it was basically unplayable. So I've been waiting a long, long time to actually have a go with this. And I was prepared to be disappointed. You know what they say, you can never go home again. You pick some of the classic games of the past and you try to play them now, and, well, they're usually a bit of a disappointment. But not this. It still holds up. It's still an incredibly good game, even 14 years after release. Oh, I suppose I better get off the fence. I mean, reservations about the rather cheeky $50 asking price for a 14-year-old game, I mean, it's still worth the money. There's a very good reason why, if you look up any reviews of the PC release of Red Dead Redemption, pretty much all of them are rating it at least 80%. I think the current Steam user reviews are sitting at 9 out of 10. It's definitely worth it. Although the average review scores on PC might be coloured slightly by a couple of factors. One, it's not a Ubisoft game, so people are going to be inclined to be generous. And also, the other thing that you have to bear in mind is that here on PC, with regards to open world games in the last couple of years, we haven't really been doing too well, have we? I mean, we've had Far Cry 6, which was dog shit. We've had Skull and Bones, which was dog shit, overpriced, and not an actual open world game. We've had Star Wars Outlaws, which wasn't dog shit, but it was overpriced, and it wasn't really an open world game. In fact, the only really successful open world games that we've had on PC in the last couple of years are either Cyberpunk 2077 or they're ports of PlayStation games, like Horizon Forbidden West. And now, you can add Red Dead Redemption to that list. So, there hasn't been an awful lot of competition to compare this to on PC in the last couple of years, which might be one of the reasons why it's reviewing as well as it is on Steam. But I think it's probably reviewing as well as it is on Steam just because it's that good. Oh, one other thing, actually two other things, almost forgot. There's no multiplayer in the PC version. They removed the co-op for the PC release. Why? No idea, but it isn't there. On the other hand, you do get the... I can't even remember what it's called, the zombie version. That's thrown in with the asking price. So, bit of give, bit of take. Still, definitely worth the money. If you're looking for something to treat yourself to for Christmas, you could do a lot worse than the PC release of Red Dead Redemption. In other news, I don't know if you recall, at the beginning of the year, one of my first episodes of Mingles with Jingles was more a roundup of the games that were coming up in 2024 that I was looking forward to. Some of them even actually came out in 2024. Star Wars Outlaws was one of them. Yeah, I think we've said everything that we need to say about Star Wars Outlaws at this point. Some of them have not actually released in 2024, and if you remember the Alters, they had a demo of it that did come out in 2024, but the game itself, it's the one where you're marooned on a hostile planet. You're the only surviving member of your team, you can't manage your base by yourself, and there's all kinds of life-threatening problems arise, but you can create clones of yourself. Well, not specifically clones, but you can create different versions of yourself. Versions of you who made different decisions during the course of their life, whose life went down a different path and learned different skills, for example, but basically became different people. And you need those versions of yourself with those skills in order to survive your current situation. But you're not all necessarily going to get along with each other because of the different decisions that you've made. So this, while it was originally supposed to come out in 2024, the Alters, it slipped to 2025. We did get a demo version of the game. We can play the first couple of hours this year. Still looking forward to it. Not come out in 2024, however. In fact, most of the games that I rounded up at the beginning of the year that was supposed to be coming out in 2024 didn't, but one of them did. It's called Outcast, A New Beginning. Now, I did, despite adding it to my Steam wishlist at the time when I did that roundup of upcoming games in 2024 video, I didn't get it on release. It came out, actually, not long after, 15th of March this year. But the initial reviews were kind of and so I didn't bother. The game itself, reading from its own description on its Steam page, explore the breathtaking alien world of Adelpha, support the local Talons in their struggles, and fight your way through fast-paced battles against invading robot forces in this third-person open-world action-adventure sequel to the 1999 cult classic. Well, it can't have been that much of a classic because I'd never heard of it. However, the recent reviews, possibly influenced by the price drop, you can now get this, in fact I did just a couple of days ago, get it on Steam for $34.99, decent price. All reviews are now mostly positive, and recent reviews, possibly influenced by the price drop, are up to very positive. So this Outcast, A New Beginning, it's a game that I was initially looking forward to, just based on the pre-launch hype, but then when it did come out, it was kind of so I didn't bother at the time, but since then, the developers appear to have taken on board community criticisms. There have been numerous patches and updates, and they've also now just slashed the price, so I bought it. And if it's any good, I mean, I'm planning to have a blast of it during my Christmas break, and if it's any good, I may even do a video or two on it. In other news, and I know a lot of you have been looking forward to this one, you may already be aware, but Sea Power, Naval Combat in the Missile Age, developed by Triassic and published by Microprose, is going into official early access tomorrow on Steam. I've done a couple of videos on it, although not as many as I'd like. I really do need to get my finger out and get some more C-Power videos up, because it is astonishingly good. I mean, even the alpha version that I've been playing was remarkably stable, and when it wasn't stable, we would report the bugs to the developers, and they'd usually fix them within a day. So they're hard at work improving and updating. They've published a roadmap. We've got a dynamic campaign coming within the next 2 or 3 months. New units are being added all the time. There's updates and fixes happening all the time. Actual tutorial missions, so you don't have to try to figure out... I mean, let's face it. If you're the kind of person who's looking forward to something like C-Power, you've probably got a fairly good idea of how naval combat works anyway. But translating that knowledge into how to make what you want to happen in the game, in command of your naval units, isn't always obvious. I mean, it's not that difficult to figure it out by playing, but tutorial missions would be useful, and they're coming very, very soon too. The game already has extensive mod support and an inbuilt scenario editor, and there are already a whole bunch of custom scenarios available for it. Unsurprisingly, most of them based on Tom Clancy's Red Storm Rising or The Hunt for Red October. But it's all there, or if it isn't there, it's very, very shortly going to be, and it goes out into official early access on Steam tomorrow. Although they haven't actually announced the price yet. And normally this would be the point where I'd speculate on how much they were going to ask to buy into the early access, but I don't really want to do that for 2 reasons. One, we'll find out tomorrow anyway. And two, while they haven't actually said how much they're going to charge for the early access, they have said that they're not planning on changing the price between early access and release. So what that would appear to mean is that if you do buy into the early access from tomorrow on, you've basically bought the full game. You won't be charged any extra after the 8 to 12 months of early access, and the thing actually goes into full release. But that could also potentially mean, in fact probably does mean, but we'll find out tomorrow, that the early access price is the full price of the game. So that could potentially put people off if you're paying what is essentially going to be full price for early access, especially given the potentially somewhat risky nature of buying into early access. Although I think you don't need to really worry too much on that score because, well, this is Microprose. You know, they have a publisher. The game is coming out. So you don't need to worry about your money disappearing up the developers' arses. You know, you're getting a game out of it. The only other potential concern is how much you might have to pay in order to get into early access if the early access ticket is going to cost as much as the full game when it does come out and release. But again, I mean, I don't really think this is something you're going to have to worry about too much because, again, this is Microprose, it's not Ubisoft. Ubisoft will happily charge you $70 for half a game. Microprose won't. Either way, we'll find out tomorrow. I could, of course, be completely wrong. But we will find out tomorrow when it goes into early access exactly how much you're going to be expected to pay for the privilege. Either way, I'm pretty sure it's going to be worth it because what I've played of the game so far is absolutely fantastic and it's only going to get better. Of course, the other thing that I've been playing a lot of recently, and I do mean a lot, I'm doing at least 3 hours a day, in the Forever Winter early access. This is a game you've heard me talk of before. I'm not going to go in a huge amount of detail here about the controversial issue with the Forever Winter, which is of course the water mechanic. Quick capsule summary: you need water to survive, and water is used up in real time. So if you have 3 days of water and then you don't play the game for 3 days, you come back in and it's game over, you've run out of water. Yeah. Most of the comments that I've seen from people regarding this think that the game looks incredible, but the water mechanic is bullshit. And I 100% get where they're coming from. I mean, I'm at the point in the game now, in fact I got to this point very, very early on, where I don't even bother collecting water anymore. I've got more water than I can possibly use. Getting to that point though, even though you can get there within a couple of hours of starting, it's still a massive barrier to entry for new players. And I mentioned, either last week or the week before, that the developers were addressing the water mechanic issue. Well, they have addressed it, and it's only generating more controversy. See, a lot of people thought they were going to do away with the water mechanic at all. Or if not do away with it, then not make it a game breaker if you run out of water. And they've kind of addressed that, but they also kind of haven't. You see, what happens now, and again, I should probably issue the caveat here that this is all undoubtedly subject to change. But at the moment, with Water 2.0, I think that's what they're calling it, what happens if you run out of water? It's not instantly game over. Instead, you log in and you're sent to your innards, your base, which has been attacked and taken over by water thieves. And if you defeat the water thieves, you get your water and all your stuff back. Okay, well, that sounds good. It's not an automatic game over to give you a chance, right? Well, it sounds like they do. But as usual, the devil is in the details. You see, this sort of thing is only really going to happen to you within the first 6 or 7 hours of playing. Game time, that is. You might have had the game and been playing it for a couple of days, but within your first 6 or 7 hours of actually playing the game. In other words, you're not going to have maxed out any of your weapons. You probably won't have unlocked a lot of the weapons, and you absolutely won't have maxed out any of your characters. You won't even be close. And the thing about these water thieves, they are as hard as fucking nails. They are brutal, and there's a load of them, and your base, the innards, is not a very big place, and there are very, very few places to hide and take cover. So what tends to happen in Water 2.0, when you run out of water, you get sent to your base, and it's crawling with water thieves as they just kick your ass into the ground, and it's game over. It's exactly the same as if you just run out of water in the old water system. Why the hell the developers insist on choosing this particular hill to die on, I have absolutely no idea. But the changes that they've made are really not making things any better. Well, I mean, they have made a lot of changes for the better. The game is a hell of a lot more dynamic. There are certain maps and regions like the Scorched Enclave, for example, which can be absolute hell on earth when you zone in and you go off scavenging. Way more dangerous, way, way easier to get yourself into trouble if you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. But with regards to the water mechanic, if anything, I'd say it's actually even worse, because they entice you with the chance of maybe not having a game over situation because you've run out of water. But realistically, having your base taken over by these water thieves when you run out of water is just a kick in the bollocks, because it's extremely difficult. Given the level of gear and character experience that you're likely to have if this does happen to you, they're just going to kick your ass. They're just tantalizing you with the chance that maybe it's not all over, when in effect it absolutely is, and they're going to kill you for even trying. It's just horrible. And again, I just don't understand why the developers insist on choosing this particular hill to die on. Massively unpopular. The new system is not really any better than it was before. Arguably it's worse, because at least with the original water mechanic, when you ran out of water, you knew you were screwed. There were no two ways about it. But with Water 2.0, they just dangle the remote possibility that perhaps it's not all over. When in actual fact, to all practical intents and purposes, yeah, you are. And they're going to stomp your ass in the ground for even having the temerity to try to recover from this impossible situation. Yeah, I just don't understand why they insist on trying to make this thing work. It's massively unpopular. I mean, The Forever Winter remains an astonishingly good game that continues to be plagued by this hopelessly unpopular and massively controversial game mechanic. So I'll continue. I'm still enjoying the game because it's never going to affect me. Again, like I said, I'm at the point where now I go out on a raid, scavenging stuff, and I don't even bother picking water up. I've got way more than I'm ever going to need. And it doesn't take long to get to that stage. It's just an incredibly difficult hump to get over, and this water mechanic is not making it any easier. So I'll continue to watch this space and report back. Who knows, maybe Water 3.0 will actually make things better. Couldn't possibly make things any worse. And on that bombshell, that's it for this week's episode of Mingles with Jingles. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.